Hey guys, what is happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained, and today we'll be looking at the Reaper virus as featured in the 2008 sci-fi action thriller, Doomsday, directed by Neil Marshall and starring Rhona Mitra, Adrien Lester and Malcolm McDowell. The film shows the outbreak and spread of the fictitious Reaper virus in Scotland and the subsequent breakdown in society that follows it. This film is pretty gnarly, what I imagine would happen if Mad Max and 28 Days Later had a baby. The Reaper virus outbreak occurs in Glasgow on April 3, 2008, with no identified cause, although it is hinted by both the narrator at the start and one of the Prime Minister's officials that the virus was nature's way of creating balance in a world that was overpopulated and unstable. Reaper kills hundreds in days and eventually thousands of people by the end of the first week. The victims would have to endure a long and painful death, displaying fever and large boils on the outer skin as the individuals hemorrhage internally. The panic and fear caused by this leads thousands of people to head to the border between Scotland and England in search of safety. Martial law, along with a curfew, is implemented in an attempt to defuse the situation. All major transport routes, including air travel, ocean travel and road, are all closed, while Scotland is placed under quarantine. With no cure and no vaccine, the people were asked to stay at home and wait for help to come. Many people took to the streets to confront the military presence stamping on their civil liberties. One such altercation saw one of the soldiers shooting a man infected with the Reaper virus, along with several other innocent people, causing the infected blood to splash onto many more. Furious by his actions, the angry mob soon turned violent, demanding justice, freedom, and blood. We see the horde breaking through the barricades while simultaneously being gunned down as they make it to the border, only to find that the military is in the final stages of building a large wall separating the two land masses. Our protagonist, Eden, is only a child during the outbreak. During the attempted exodus, she is accidentally shot in the eye by the military. A soldier then sacrifices his place on the last helicopter leaving Scotland to allow the girl to make it to safety. The giant wall that separates both Scotland and England stands at 30 feet and was made of thick reinforced steel. Running for 29 kilometers, it essentially cut Britain in half. The waters surrounding Scotland were heavily patrolled and mined for resources, while the landmass was declared a no-fly zone. Anything attempting to make it in or out was shot down without hesitation. While the rest of the world moved on, the infected bodies continued to decay. With no government support and emergency services available, social order collapses, giving rise to anarchy which runs rampant within Scotland. What follows are some of the most gruesome displays of violence and cruelty as people struggle to survive. With little food, the survivors fed on dogs, rats, and eventually each other. Almost 3 decades later, after all the lights in Scotland had faded, now an adult and working as a cop, Eden and her team crack down on a people smuggling ring and inadvertently find the first infected cases within the UK. With the outbreak soon to take over London, a crisis session is held where the leaders decide to implement the same strategies that were used in Glasgow. Desperate for answers and ultimately a cure, Eden's chief asks her to head back to Scotland in search of a Dr. Kane, who could hold the potential answers for finding a cure. With recent satellite photos showing what appears to be the existence of survivors, eager for a chance to test herself and hopeful that she will find some sort of catharsis, we see Eden leading the mission into Scotland. Nothing could prepare her team for what they're about to encounter. Fueled by decades of pain, poverty and neglect, the civilization that awaits them has been split in two by a father and son at war. The city is run by Kane's son, Saul, who is wild and ultra-violent, and his people show no mercy, killing and eating a few members of Eden's squad in the most savage way. After a brief struggle, Eden and her team finally make it to the country to find Kane, played by the legendary Malcolm McDowell, who runs it like his medieval forefathers. I admired the clash between the father and son, as it was the literal and metaphorical representation of the age-old struggle between the old world and the new. What's most interesting about this film isn't the Reaper virus. The virus is merely a catalyst for the fear and paranoia that causes people to do the most atrocious things in the name of self-preservation and in the presence of lawlessness. Made 6 years prior to the Scottish referendum, I couldn't help but feel that this was a political allegory signifying Scotland's frustrations and love-hate relationship with the UK and its place within it. The best thing about this film has to be Eden. She is not afraid of conflict, she revels in it, and the greater the opponent, the more fun she seems to have. She is the ultimate badass, resourceful, brutal, and unrestrained. We notice that she's right at home when she arrives in Scotland, which is why she ultimately decides to stay, where violence and power give her the reins as Queen of the New World. Well, that's all that we have time for. I'm curious to hear what you guys thought of the movie, so please share that in the comments below. As always, it's been a pleasure. Niyat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.
If you're hungry, try a piece of your friend.